We're live. Monday, 29th of December. Just a few more days left. What is going on out there? What is going on out there? Let's bring up some charts. First things first. Welcome. Silver. I'm on the 4-hour chart right now, so we got a little bit of detail. This is not the daily chart. And, well, you know what? Let's go to the daily chart so we can see what happened. Look at that. So on Friday, price went crazy fast upwards last day of the week. That does not happen often. We usually see volume dropping during that time. Oh, let's fix this. There you go. So the volume did not drop. It went up. And even into this morning, right here, this was 4 o'clock last night because the markets were open in the east. So it went up, but then even by within those first 2 hours of the market, big climb going up to an all-time high, which ended up being 83.75 US. 83.75 US. In Canadian dollars, that is $114.51. $114.51. In ADA, that was 230. 230, almost 231. Oh no, 231, exactly. Back to US dollars. Since that time, remember, this was last night at 4 p.m. The price has retraced down 15%. That's one day. What happened? How did this occur? What do we even call this? Any guesses? You're muted right now. Do you have a guess, Audrey Lynn? Oh, no, there's something wrong. I'm not hearing you. The audio settings, those are going to be separate. The camera and your audio are going to be separate. Now, you can have your camera act as a microphone as well with that setup there. When you go into the settings in StreamYard, you should be able to select your iPhone as a microphone, and then that way it'll come through. But that right there is definitely something worth really looking at. Wednesday it was this low.
Now I can't hear you.
How can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I had mine muted. Okay. So, yeah, what do you think this was?
I think it's the beginning of a rug pull.
Ooh. Did you get a chance to read that article that I posted yesterday? Hey, Ian.
No, I just got it started and then got distracted, so I need to go back to it.
It explains exactly what this was. It's fascinating to me. That article came out, and within 24 hours, not even, within the first 2 hours of international trading, the market responded. So that guy, whoever wrote that article, I don't even remember who wrote the article, but I'd never seen anything written by him before. That's a new source for me. But I read that and I was just like, oh man, this guy's grounded. He knows exactly how to describe this way better than I could. And sure enough, within 2 hours of trading, his, uh, this isn't meeting what he said would occur, but the fact that it dropped 15% in the last 12 hours, 16 hours, that's significant. That's a big loss in silver. There has never been that large of a loss ever. And what happened was that the institutions themselves are now flipping their strategy. In the past, they would be looking to manipulate this price with contracts, right? Paper contracts. We've been talking about that for years. Well, yeah, I've been talking about that since 2011, 2012. These paper contracts are being used to manipulate the price, to simulate the demand and supply. Well, they are now flipping. I put up another thing in the Telegram channel talking about how the US now, in their latest financial report, says that now silver all of a sudden is an essential mineral.
Oh,
And so the very companies that have been manipulating the price on silver using paper contracts not only just they basically liquidated their longs. They said no, we're not even going to worry about whether or not we make money off of the silver contracts anymore. And in the wee hours of the morning, those companies started buying physical silver.
fancy that.
So what we've seen here is that liquidation of the paper markets, and we're watching that happen in real time basically as these companies are buying physical silver.
So wouldn't
Why?
that
Because the
cause,
government said it's a good idea now. Now we can do it because the government said it's a good idea.
is that not also another means of reevaluating the actual value of silver? Because
Absolutely.
now that the paper is being shown to be the Ponzi scheme that it is, that the holding of actual physical metal silver um, uh, is being brought to light, that this is what you better be doing, because otherwise you just lost a lot.
The game is up.
The game is up.
The game is up.
So then this is more like not necessarily a rug pull per se, but uh, a reorientation away from paper contracts and back to holding the physical metal.
One of the banks, and I don't know which one it is, the report that I saw did not disclose the name of the bank because if it was made public, it would create a further bank run. But there was a bank that actually has they had a margin call on their silver longs. The amount of money that they had in those paper contracts was so great that the loss that they experienced within the first hours, that 10%, at 10%, their leveraged positions on silver futures went into the red so bad. So it is a rug pull. Because when it goes into the red so bad that there's a margin call, you have 2 hours to fill that position with the liquidity required to keep the trade open. If you do not come up with the money, the exchange takes it all.
Pardon?
Yeah. It's a margin call. It's a margin call.
Okay.
That's how that works. If you have a margin call, the exchange takes everything because it has to pay off all the leverage somehow.
Of course.
It's your liquidity that they use to do it.
Of course.
They are not saying which bank had the margin call.
It'd be interesting to find that out.
$800 million from one bank.
Which would
I'm gonna keep an eye on it. That's for sure. I'm gonna be watching to see what else pops up. It's still early. Like, think about it. It's still early. Markets in New York have only been open for 2 hours.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
No, they've been open for 4 hours now.
Oh, they opened up at 7 our time?
Oh, sorry. Yes, 7 our time. 7:30 technically.
So you said a moment ago that silver has never lost that amount ever. Now is that in the time frame? Because in that previous, in that time frame, okay.
Yep. Yeah, we've had losses for sure. We've had losses, but not like 15% within the last 24 hours, not even 20 hours. What do we have?
I have 19 hours in my from the peak there to where we are now. 19 hours.
Yep. 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 That's it.
18 hours. No, 19. Yep.
Yeah, we're in the 19th hour. Yep. Yeah. That's huge. That is really, really big to have that much drop. So from $83 US down to 71, we are now back to where we were just before Christmas.
Now it's interesting if you draw a line from the last low.
Yep.
Going back further. If you go back further in time.
This low here? Or
on your chart. Yeah. So the last low, the 21st of November.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And you draw a line straight up there, it's meeting all that, it's meeting that line.
Yeah. There you go. I don't think this is done. I think we're going to see silver go on sale for a bit. This big, I mean, maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough. I think that they're going to liquidate even more of those paper contracts. This is just a little blip compared to the, like, you think about it, how much of this energy buildup. Think of it as energy buildup. Every time they manipulate the price, there is an energy buildup that occurs. And then what happens is that there's like a slingshot effect to that energy buildup. So I believe what we're going to see is, in accordance to what that guy was saying, we're going to see a drop, and it could very well come back to rest at these old highs from November. So if it does that, that's a 34% drop, 35% drop. But it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, because it makes sense to me that as those positions liquidate, the fear in the market is just going to drive that price down even further. Deliberately, again, remember, in order to get the market to move, sometimes you got to get the emotions involved. You can't just do it with supply and demand and, manipulating paper. You got to get the emotions of the people involved. And so I think that they're going to do that. Because why? Why? Because you think about how much time, like how much people have been accumulating silver in the last 2-3 months. It's been a lot. The supplies are drying up. It was here, end of November, when China went ahead and opened up a whole bunch of positions buying physical silver to back those positions. Got nations repatriatizing gold and silver, precious metals all around. And so the amount that has been purchased during this time is a lot, right? So this price coming down, that was just getting the greedy people that came in late. That's all that did. But you think about how many people they got to make scared over here, right? So the price coming back down and resting here makes sense to me from analyzing this from the perspective of a manipulative banking cartel. Coming back down to rest here would be perfect in line with the idea of getting these people here to have a margin call, or to say, oh, I gotta sell because I'm losing money. I took $20,000 on the line of credit to get this silver, and now I'm losing money. So then they would sell. And who do they sell to? The people who are now in the market for buying physical silver, who've been manipulating it. So that trade-off, I think, is what we're going to see occur over this next little while.
What was the essence of that article that you sent? Like, what was the significant nutshell?
The silver, it's a continuation of the silver squeeze that we've been talking about basically all year. That
Okay.
they're not going to be able to fulfill on these contracts. So this is just hey, let's sell a bunch of these contracts off because we need to buy some physical. Remember how I talked about how the ETFs worked, right? ETFs are just paper contracts. That's all they are. So you put an ETF on Ethereum, right? And the way they did it all year long, I watched that, and we've talked about this. Here's the green arrow. That's where ETFs began to be issued. Whenever the price was high, that's when they were selling ETFs. But they didn't take that money and put it on chain until the price was low. So now they just sold a whole bunch of silver contracts to greedy people and liquidated them all in a matter of a day. Remember, let's go back. Look at the 2-hour chart here. This big candle, all of this growth here, this was all Friday. Friday from 4 a.m. till 4 p.m. That was Friday. 13% on Friday. So, of course, you had people coming in being like, I got to buy silver. They buy the silver only to find out that they're buying it from the very people who are selling it. Why? Because they want to buy physical stuff when it's on sale, just like they did with the Ethereum ETFs and the Bitcoin ETFs. Sell the paper contracts high, buy the asset low.
So it's really just the paper contracts that have driven the price up, not the actual silver.
Well, there is demand. And so that demand.
No, I understand there's demand, but
yep.
In order to make what you just said work, it has to be the paper contracts that's driving the price up. Because then they liquidate their paper, which is worth nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They've sold that paper to people.
Yep.
In exchange for hard cash. And then they drive the price down.
Yep. And they only sold to the greedy.
Sure.
Yeah, and just like we are, like that's the strategy. And unfortunately, when it comes right down to it, that's all we're looking to do. We want to sell to the greedy and buy from the fearful.
So then wait until wait and watch as the price does its dance, and as it gets to lows, then start to dollar cost average and purchase.
A very real possibility, because we do see this kind of price pattern occur, where we will see this support list along the trend line that Ian brought up. That could provide some support, and we'll see a double attempt at that all-time high. But if it can't get above and keep and stay above for more than a day, it will definitely rebound back. And if failing to create a new high, means that it'll even go further, where now we'll probably see this, right? Now it'll squiggle around more than what I'm doing here. I'm doing a generalized line as if it was on the daily chart. But this is a very real possibility. This week, next week, we'll see an attempt over that to reach that all-time high again. But what is that? That's just more people coming in being like, we're okay. Look, it bounced off the trend line. We're still in good. We're still good. We'll know. We'll know the moment that it does not stay above this trend line, it will likely be falling down to find the most recent support, which is back here.
And what was that at US? I can't see
That
it.
was 54 US.
Okay.
Yeah. Here, let me make it a little bit bigger. Right now, sitting at 71. It's a very, very eventful day already.
Uh-huh.
And remember how I said Christmas is whenever it's a opportune time to do this kind of thing, because only freaks like us pay attention. Right? Everybody else is
Are you
still
calling
traveling.
me a freak?
Oh, please do not take that as an insult.
Welcome to the group, Ian.
Yes, I know.
I had a conversation today with the vendors and talking about data privacy. And I was like, some people prepare with lead, right? Bullets. This is the form of lead that I've prepared.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
And because I'm a freak, right? I've been a freak about the digital ID since 2008. Now I'm not so scared of it anymore, but that's how I look at it. Some people prepare with lead, and I didn't. I prepared with a different type of lead, or rather, I should say, I did too, just in a different form.
Yeah.
All right, let's go look at some other Bitcoin stuff here. We'll look at Bitcoin dominance next. I'm gonna go ahead and make that smaller. Bitcoin dominance still not really rising. Yes, it's been trending upwards since November 26th. But not conclusively, because overall, we're still seeing that downward trend. A little bit of a retest here, but it doesn't look like to me we're even coming up to test this. So we'll see what happens. Time will tell. But it's having a difficult time. It definitely is going up a lot slower than it went down. When it goes down sharply. When it goes up, it takes some time, right? It's a slow build. Again, that's encouraging. That means that there's a good flow going into the altcoins. Back when Bitcoin dominance was on the rise, it happened quite quickly with good force. There wasn't much deliberation on whether or not it was going to the next pivot point. Now, when it goes down, it's making those forceful moves.
It's following a trend line again from that July top down through the November top.
Yep. July top.
Well, actually, right up there. Yeah.
Right at the end of June there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. Great.
I guess I say it's creating a trend.
Yeah.
Not necessarily following, but creating that. Yep.
It is for sure creating one, and we're going to see very soon. I see this yellow line being definitely more of an indicator. Remember, this is Bitcoin dominance. So while we can notice trends, trend lines are a little bit less, I would say, have less weight than pivot points.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Because this isn't a price action chart. This is a dominance chart. This is how much of all of the cryptos is held in Bitcoin. With the price, however, and something else I found out. This came across my feed this morning when I was making coffee. Another whale purchased on a private wallet that was originally one of the, like, I think it was first activated within the first few years of Bitcoin's release. So it's what we call an OG whale account or a whale wallet. It purchased 4,300 Bitcoin today, just a couple hours ago.
Wow.
4,300 Bitcoin.
I think what's his name was Sailor was in on something just recently.
Oh yeah. Yep. This one was an unidentified wallet. However, the wallet that was the wallet address was there. You could see it on the scanner. It showed that it nailed every bubble with Bitcoin and sold at highs, bought at lows every single time. So the consistency of that wallet indicates that whoever has those keys knows something. Either that or he's just that good.
Oh, yeah. My MicroStrategy, it was last week, purchased just over 1,200 Bitcoin.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So.
Oh, and this is Bitcoin on gold. This price here is Bitcoin on gold, folks. I apologize. Let me go back to Bitcoin price action itself. This is Bitcoin price action. We are seeing a lot of consolidation since the low that was formed on November 20th. And that makes sense. That just makes sense with all that consolidation at this low, so close to this C. Makes total sense that there would be a whale coming on board right now. Because it's not trending. It hasn't been trending since November 20th. Amazing.
So you say that a trend line is not as important as a pivot point. So has it hit a pivot point that would cause a whale to buy?
Yes. And just to clarify, trend lines on price action have weight. They are in many ways the same as a pivot point. However, when we're looking at Bitcoin dominance, because we're not measuring price action at this point, this here, I would say, and we see that just from the evidence, pivot points have more constitution, so to speak. It has more force and effect over this chart, because this is not related to price action. In price action, trend lines do have I would say, equal power as a pivot point. But you're right. Right now, we're underneath that long-term trend line. That trend line goes back a long ways. 2015, I think. Yeah, 2015. And now we're just waiting to see whether or not it can maintain this, right? It could very well come and test C. We've talked about that. This is market structure right here. Who knows? But right now, it's been consolidating. So, yep. having this be a buy zone, this is definitely a great buy zone. Anything below that red line is a great buy zone. Total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So this is giving us more of an idea of what altcoins are doing. You can see I marked this back in November, that I saw it going below this trend line. Could retest that and go down further. Market structures over here.
That trend line could be taken way back to July, almost.
Oh yeah. Even October 2023 is that low. Yep.
Oh, that was, okay. I thought that was July this year. Yep,
Oh,
I
yeah.
get you.
Yeah.
You're on the day, yep.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Let's go check out gold. Gold definitely also created a new high, a little bit of a drop. That's definitely not going to be moving with nearly as much volatility as silver, simply because of the high price point. But look at how that came up and has found, it's already finding support, looks like. Let's go to the 2-hour chart, just see. Oh, wow, yeah. This is, there we go. Finding some support back from over here when we left that rising pennant pattern. Oh, come on. There we go. So rising pennant pattern here. Breakout. Big push coming up to there right after Christmas. This was December 26th, Boxing Day, to see that drop. Now, what is this drop here? How much is that? That's 5%. I don't know if that's the biggest it's ever dropped in gold or not, but that's a pretty good drop in one day. But to find that support back here, this area, which was a nice big extension from the previous highs. This chart is just looking beautiful, almost too good to be true. This is now on the daily time frame. Japanese market's been in consolidation since November 4th. US markets also not really being able to push a lot higher. Notice how since this point here, November 12th, we had that little bit of a dip. I think there was like, if I remember correctly, there was like $3 trillion that got liquidated in this area here. But up until that point, when reaching above this previous high, that triple top, reaching above, we could see that incremental rise be fairly consistent. Since this drop, the next rise was not that much bigger. And already we're having a difficult time over the last few days, having a difficult time coming back up to that all-time high. Oh my goodness. Wouldn't it be so amazing if we just started off 2026 with a 30% drop in the markets?
Hey, how long should a trend line last in terms of paying attention to it?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the theory is between 5 and 12. So what does that mean? Every time we have a trend line get touched, we call that it's another touch point. If we see it happen 5 times, then it's like, okay, we're probably going to be in this trend for a bit. Now it could very well reverse right away, but 5 is where we start watching for signs for a reversal. 12 is kind of the outside edge of that. So when a trend line is formed, we have to remember that like this here, I was using this one as kind of an average. When drawing trend lines, it is important that the trend line be drawn on the lows or the highs, depending on which way you're headed. So here, that means you take the line, start at the bottom, extend across, and then you just lift up your line until it touches another low. And we can see here, there are lows that we aren't touching, so we have to move it. We have to keep moving it until, okay, there we go. There's a low. There's this. There. So that is the first trend line that we draw. So this here is what we call a short-term trend line, a burst even. Beyond that, now we take another trend line to find the middle of so that's the short-term trend line. Now we look for the midterm trend line, and there it is there, where by bringing it out level and lifting it up, the first thing I touch is there. So that's the that's the first touch. This is 0 down here.
Okay.
So this second touch is now contributing to the 5 that we would expect for a trend to occur. Once it's 5, it's anybody's game. 12 is that's the outside edge. On average, after 12 touch points, there's a reversal. So between 5 and 12 is what we would say is constituting a trend. Again, this is all theory. There's no real, the market does what it's going to do. When we look at it from a technical analysis perspective, not so much in cryptos. I wouldn't use this rule of thumb in cryptos at all. This is a traditional markets theory that there will be 5 touch points on a trend line for it to constitute a trend.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yep.
No, I recognize it doesn't help a whole lot because it's all theory, but that gives us a little bit of a benchmark, especially in the traditional markets. People say yes, but okay, so this was a double top. We got that big drop there. Some people say, well, we can't really use that. We got to go more so from where would they go? Well, technically, we should be doing this because there's C, right? So this trend line here, and I'm going like this because of the volatility that we saw within those days of that low. So we're seeing that point there, this one here.
So that's 2 touches.
Yep, that's right. That's 2 touches.
So it has to be 5 to be a trend.
Again, that's going into the theory. With 5, okay. Once there are 5, it ought to be within your strategy to minimize your leverage, because the risk of a reversal starts after, goes up significantly after 5 touch points. Ethereum chart. Not much there to see. Let's go to ADA. ADA dipping down low. It's been consolidating since December 18th. I'm going to go ahead and delete this squiggly line there. Where we are right now, anybody's game could very well come back down, test 30 cents before rising back up again. What I would do for people who are looking for some short-term gains, dollar cost average your way down to 30 cents. Because when it comes back up, recovery, just a recovery coming back to this major pivot point here. This is that really strong line at 50 cents US. That rise will give you 67% growth back. Just coming back to there. Really good dollar cost. Remember, we've talked about this in the past in previous market analyses. Most of the money is made in recovery, not accumulation. Doge nice and low. Trend line is actually broken though. This is why. So we do see 4 here, right? And then, then we can call this 5. So there's your 5 touch points, and now it's been reversing going below that trend line. In this case, because it's cryptos, I'm going to say though that, this, let's zoom out to the weekly here so we can see. I would say where we are right now, at this point here, is actually probably the strongest. I'm going to go ahead and just put this one as the support. This line here will provide some strong support simply because it provided some good resistance when the price was below. Market structure is down at 5 cents. Oh, yeah. Let's go look at night. Been climbing. You know that thing we did back here? This is when we bought it around 4 to 5 cents, somewhere in there. I'm going to go to 5. Currently up 96%. Congratulations to those who've been getting night. See that price pattern is doing great already. I have intersected this area here simply because these are the early hours, early days of its inception on the 2-hour chart. We seem to be finding that trend line here, especially within, the Christmas week. That trend line provided the most support. Technically, I never went into this realm of technical analysis, but you can get into sine line, is it? Some of these cycles, some of these tools in here allow you to see curves and all that good stuff. Let me just see. There's a projection. Forecast is there. Yeah, I'm not seeing. There's another tool that some people use, and that's to calculate a curve. So there is a theory around that where the trend line actually goes like this, and then you get the math. Obviously, I'm not being able to do this very straight, but you can see how that trend line is a little bit curved. There is a realm of technical analysis. I never went into it, where you can get a calculation of what that curve is. Whether it actually works or not, I don't know. I never went into that.
And what would the purpose of the calculation be to determine what? Whether it's going to do the flip side of that curve upwards, or because that is a
question.
That is a downturning curve that you had there.
Yes. Yeah, that curve was, yeah. The reason they would do that would be more so with data that is longer term. Because what you're looking for are patterns in how the price action tapers. That's the purpose of it. I don't really follow it because to me it's not really, it's not going to be respective of pivot points or trend lines. You're basically postulating a different type of trend altogether, which is simply what it's doing is really just showing the rate of change, they call it. How much does this change and at what rate does it change?
Okay.
Yeah. There we have it. This is definitely the talk of the town right now, though. Silver. Any questions? Comments? Queries?
Nope. I find it interesting that Cardano is only, well, That's just 8 times the valuation of what it was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it reached a whole lot higher than that. 80 times at one point.
Yes, indeed. Let's go to the end of January or end of December 2019. Yep, you're right.
So it had quite
Was
the
at
collapse, for
three
lack
and a
of a better
half.
word.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Up 1,000%, almost 1,000% from a year, from exactly 6 years ago. Last week of December is right here,
Yeah.
and that was that was there.
And then from August 31st of 21 to May the following year, it dropped 87%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Quite the drop.
indeed. Small market caps, eh? Like that's the thing, right? If you have a small amount of money, you're going to see it's like penny stocks. Penny stocks always super volatile, great opportunities to be had. But I mean, you're throwing 100 pennies and 4 of them will profit and hopefully pay off the other 96. Same idea. We're
Yep.
seeing that same type of I honestly think that the crypto exchange market, not cryptos, not blockchain, but all the exchanges, they were simply playing penny stocks since 2016, 2017 in the creation of their exchanges. And they were just playing, right? Just playing. Let there be light. Here's XRP
Yeah.
consolidating ever since January 2025. BitTensor, super low again. Even just a few weeks ago, well, I say a few weeks ago, October, it was going up nice and high. And I was thinking to myself, oh, we broke out of this downward pattern. Look, we might very well be going up. Nah, we went right back down again. $220. This was almost $1,000 when we got started. Yeah, 788. April 2024. It was in June. It was in June 2024 where we started doing market analyses on the regular. But this one here, you can see every time it's been dropping, right? So the highs have been getting lower. And the lows have been getting higher. I'm laughing because BitTensor came out and it was $1 billion market cap within the first days of it being in existence. You know, it took ADA, something like 2 years to get to $1 billion market cap.
So what's so significant about BitTensor again?
BitTensor is a big tech company that provides compute for cloud AI cloud services for the big tech companies,
Sure.
Gemini, yeah, but they're doing it on an exchange. So BitTensor is actually also they've created their own exchange, and they're also a token that is on the major exchanges. And the idea behind that is for they want to incentivize people to use cryptos to pay for AI services. So this is the company that got started to accomplish that. So what we've been seeing is just them moving the price around, right? Buying low, selling high, back and forth, but it's been consolidating because this is that build up. This is their building that foundation. Not most people are still paying fiat for all of their AI services. But this company is just piggybacking off of the Oracles and the Nvidias. All they're doing is that they are simply tokenizing the compute and assigning a value with their token, with their coin, because they want to have this be kind of that catch. Remember the transference of this economy, right? Whenever we see this kind of thing, right? This was back 2020. I'm on the weekly chart. So 2020, that big drop, that money didn't disappear. It just switched form. We all went online. School kids had to go online. So the money was just moved into another form, and then, the markets recovered. We're going to see the same kind of thing. BitTensor is in position for when the fiat currencies are no longer a viable option for people to pay for their relationships with AI. That's what's happening. People are getting addicted to AI. So their relationships are going to have to continue, but the currency is not going to be able to facilitate that. It'll just be too volatile. And so this here is going to be the exchange for a lot of the big tech companies to bring their customers in. So instead of using, putting the dollars on your credit card, you're going to get a wallet with BitTensor and have that wallet, and there'll be a drawdown on that wallet as you consume tokens. This is the tech that they'll use to do that. So this will be where the money that is currently being spent in AI, in subscription services, this is going to be where when that market crashes, this is going to be where that money ends up going. So the subscription model is going to be, you're going to get BitTensor, because it's going to be the coin. I should say we won't be, but that most of the world will just follow along to wherever the most easiest way for them to access their precious relation. Remember the precious of One Ring? AI is going to become their precious, and they're going to have to facilitate those transactions by having this token. That's why I like Fetch. I put Fetch right next to BitTensor all the time, because I think that this is going to be where we're going to be seeing the private side of AI come into effect. I joke about, and I should say I joke about it. I'm dead serious. People are in relationships with their AIs, and this here facilitates a grounded perspective on what AI is and what it's supposed to be. It's looking at AI, this ecosystem, Fetch, or the super intelligence, what do they call it? It's a long name. It's a super intelligence network. It's a DAO of LLM training models that are working together to privatize the data that you leverage the machine to create.
Sounds like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Yeah. I can't remember the full name. I gotta go to Coin Market Cap. I still have Goatius Maximus in here. I don't remember the last time I talked about that. What? This account does not exist. Did they change again? Did they change tokens? Oh, here we go. Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. That's the full name.
Well, it's a little different than supercalifragilistic.
Yeah.
Not by much.
A little bit shorter of a name. So I see this, again, it's 86th overall, under $1 billion I think this is going to be a sleeper. I think it's going to be lagging. And the reason why is because they do not want to implement something that results in people's data being compromised. And until people start self-governing their data, they won't even hear about this. The only reason there is as much of a market cap as there is, yeah, there's trading volume happening. But the people who are involved in this project, they are the ones who are the most vested and interested in it. If we go to all, you can see the vast majority of this project's timeline since 2019. The vast majority of this entire project has maintained a price below 88 cents. The price where we are right now, where this is exactly where the founders started it. So the only people who are in right now are the people who didn't go in on all of the volatility back in 2024. This was just all of the crazy people that wanted to get in on the bubble, and it failed. But you can bet your boots that the money that's here right now, this $485 million market cap, that's where it was before. This is now market cap, 487 million. Oh, look at that. It was 380 here, 656 there, right? Even at this peak right before the last alt season, it was only 599 million market cap. You know, it goes up to 5 billion and then comes right back down again. So this project, the reason that I see this volatility as just it's just everybody riding the wave. But you can bet your boots that the people who started this, and based on you start learning about some of the people that are involved in this, some of the DAOs that are a part of this super alliance, you know full well they don't even see this as something consequential to their projects, because they've been building well underneath that market cap, and they are now just coming back to that market cap. So this is going to be a sleeper. We're not going to see this take off like BitTensor. Why? Because BitTensor is making the user-friendly, hey, we'll manage your data for you. Don't worry about governing your data. That's a lot of work. Look at how many keys you got to keep track of. Let's do it for you. And so the BitTensors are going to be the ones to lead off things. But Fetch, just a sleeper. Because when people clue in that data privacy is actually important, this is going to be there ready for them. They're still in development. You can't even sign up for this. You can sign up for ChatGPT, though. And when all is said and done, BitTensor will be there to catch you when fiat fails. Fetch? No. It will not be there to catch you when fiat fails. It'll be there to catch you when BitTensor fails to keep your data private. Deliberately, because it's not like they want that to be. Already, remember Palantir? I sometimes forget the name because for me, the names aren't that important. It's just the bodies of ideas that are coming together, and then people put stamps on them and call them names. Palantir has the contract to maintain all of the data for OpenAI. So BitTensor is just going to be a different way that you pay for the same infrastructure. We have to build it. If we want that data privacy, we have to build it. And that's what Fetch stands for. That's what they're after. Polygon. Just going to bring up this chart for a bit because it's been a while since I've chatted about this. Polygon is more geared towards gaming. The coins, the tokens that are underneath this protocol, they are geared towards various gaming ecosystems. Polygon, when we're going to remember how we were talking about events versus timelines. Events are the thing that we're watching for, not timelines. In the Gesundheit, I'm gonna mute you. The timeline for this, the marker that we're watching for, is when games become self-generating. The video game industry is likely to be one of the leaders going into this next tech bubble, simply because of the retail aspect, just the sheer volume of users that they have. And Polygon being a crucial coin for that entire genre of tech. The event marker that we're looking for is when these devices develop the environment for the avatars live, and what we call what do they call it? Real-time generation.
What do you call it? Develop what for the avatars?
The environment. So right now in the gaming industry, when it comes to producing video games, video game producers spend about 60 to 70% of their budget on coders who push buttons in order to create an environment in which the avatar in the game can interact. And that environment has its own rules. Typically speaking, games that are especially in first-person environments, they're going to be having gravity rules where you can jump your character, but they can only jump so high. All of those different rules are something that are created and hardwired into that game by developers who sit there and push buttons. Well, it's called generative environment, where now the device itself is going to be running an LLM that responds to your input directing the character. So now, video game developers, and this is where we're headed, I shouldn't say now, video game developers are not going to be paying money for developers to create the expansive environment that makes up their game. The game is going to have loose rules within it, and the LLMs on the device itself will do the programming in real time, generating the environment as so let's say, for instance, your character is moving inside the game. As your character moves, the environment needs to shift and change, and we need a tree off in the distance to appear. Well, in the past, that tree has already existed in programming. So then you walk towards that tree, and the tree appears because it was programmed. But now it will be generated in real time, not programmed, generated. So as your character moves, the environment itself is programmed in an instant and then displayed before your eyes so that you can interact with it. That will reduce the cost by 60 to 80%. Audrey Lynn, you had a question. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Maybe I can do it. I was able to do it.
Okay, thank you. Does this makes me think of the thermodynamic chips? So
that's how they're going to make it possible.
That this will unfold when those chips become mainstream in a couple of years, or less.
That's right.
So what was this process called?
They call it a real-time environment generation. There will be basic rules like gravity, visibility, right? I mean, even in the real world, we measure visibility. When I was in the oil field, I did a lot of heliportable well services, and before we could even take off, there was a full report on what the weather was like, what the environment was like. And one of the things in that report is visibility. How far can your eye see? Well, there are going to be environmental rules, but it's going to be the LLMs on the devices themselves. And yes, Audrey Lynn, 100%. It's going to be the chips that we have right now being ASIC chips, application specific. Those ASIC chips are not capable of having LLMs generate environments in real time. They don't have that capacity because they're not probabilistic chips, they're deterministic. And yes, the thermodynamic chips, when they're in our electronics, they will be able to host an LLM and have a probability an infrastructure that allows for probabilistic computing so that the LLMs, which are probabilistic in nature, have a hardware with which to compute the environment. And that's when we're going to see gaming take off. I think gaming, to be honest, I see Polygon being 100x when it comes down to it. When the day comes and we start seeing this occur, people are logging in and they're paying BitTensor to have their LLMs process these things in real time. We're going to see a big spurt, and then we're going to see another spurt when those LLMs are then on the devices themselves. But the gaming, this will be 100x, at least 100x. I actually see this one here, Superverse is a gaming ecosystem. There's dozens of games that have been developed by several developers, and they all share tokens from game to game. So as you're playing your game and you're getting your rewards for watching an ad, or if you're getting your reward because you reached that one checkpoint in the game and the game says, thank you so much for playing, here's a token, which really is just printing money. But you can take that token to any of the other games in the ecosystem, a completely different platform, a different avatar, a different environment, a different world. And you can take the tokens that you made from one game and bring it over and start playing the new game with a little bit of a bonus, kind of like almost a head start from new players. Why? Because I was building tokens last year with this other game. That's the nature. The gaming industry it's a wild beast, because in the past, you bought a game and you played it for a year. Now games are being played and discarded in a matter of months.
This sounds a lot like what's going on with Night, and they're bringing in all these different coins for us to interact with. They're just catching up to what the gaming community already does, it sounds.
Yep. This is why I'm fascinated by the gaming industry, because it literally has been leading the way in tech in this realm. It has been leading the way in how tokenization occurs, because people are literally playing their game and they're getting a token. You know, the one game that I played, I remember telling you about that game that I developed a communications platform for, where we had over 1,000 players from over 15 different countries, all playing in one environment. We all had our own little avatars, 1,000 of them. And really only the top 300 or so players were active within that online community. But we could all talk back and forth. The token in that game was a diamond. That's what they called them. How many diamonds do you have? And you'd spend 2,500 diamonds just to move your avatar from one place on the map into another. Like if you wanted to teleport, you could go slow if you wanted. But if you wanted to teleport your avatar, you could do it. 2,500 diamonds. It was the most expensive token in the game. But they were giving it out freely. You just had to work for it. You had to reach the achievements. it's not the gaming industry led the tokenization industry. This whole idea of tokenizing assets. That's why I'm fascinated by it, because I think it's going to continue to lead. It's going to continue to lead. How? Well, think about it. What are we doing with the market?
Before you
The
go on to
market.
that, do you think
Yeah.
that Superverse will spike just like Polygon?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, I think Polygon, Solana, and in some cases, we'll see some other layer twos within Ethereum that end up being kind of cornerstones for the gaming world. Yeah, and yes, Superverse is. I think Superverse will have lesser of a fluctuation. They're still going to do really well, probably 50x or something like that. But Polygon being kind of it's not a layer one coin, first of all, but it is acting as a layer one to a lot of gaming coins. So Superverse really is, it's no different than what we're doing with the market. We've got a
What's
bunch
the
of little vendors. Go ahead.
what's the chance that someone else come along with a better token that will, just do, for instance, do what Knight is doing,
Right.
changing the playground, changing the
Would
nature and the character of it.
It would not surprise me at all. It would not surprise me at all to see Superverse go to zero and something else rise in its place. I wouldn't. I think that's the chances are low simply because Superverse does have a good foundation. They haven't been around for a long, super long time, 2021. But the culture that's behind this community is uh, what's the word? Fanatic. And the reason why is because the games themselves are oriented towards people who believe that reality itself follows game theory, which is the idea that nothing is real. And so they simulate these unreal environments as a way to play, just to have fun with this idea. And so a lot of people who are within the Superverse community simply have such a fanatical approach to gaming and the ecosystem that's forming from that, even collaboration between game developers. Because now if you can take a token from one game and move over to another game and play, well, now developers recognize that opportunity and want to feed off of each other. Right? So now games are being developed differently, where it's like now you can have an avatar that you can teleport from one game to another, not just from one location in one game to another. Now you can take your avatar and the assets that you've built with that avatar and go play a different game.
So is that game theory? Is that essentially what that is? That reality is just a game; it's not real.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's why I think things like Superverse itself wouldn't experience the same kind of crash. Yeah, it may crash. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think it's going to get replaced simply because that community, these people aren't going to separate from each other. They might change the name of it, right? But that from a core value perspective, this is a community and they are fanatics, zealots for what they're doing. Out of that community was born the idea of SPX 6900, which is the idea that, hey, since crypto markets are going to eclipse the stock markets, let's create an index for the top 6,900 coins because that has more force and weight over the rest of the markets, especially as this transition occurs. But the thing is that the SPX 6900 coin is just a meme coin. There's nothing backing it. It's an idea. And these people are freaks. Because if you go to their website, it's a terrible website, by the way. but just read what they're saying it's about. Here's the website. Look at how, like, this is not a very good website at all. But look at the copy. Thousands are waking up to the reality that 6900 is more than 500, referencing the SPX 500. Standard and Poor. In a moment of awakening that could redefine the way we perceive global finance, thousands are coming to grips with a revolutionary truth. 6900 was more than 5500. This realization isn't just mathematical observation, it's a paradigm shift. The emergence of SPX 6900 is a conceptual challenge to the traditional SPX 500. Represents a call to rethink the limitations of legacy benchmarks and embrace a broader, more inclusive representation of market dynamics.
Boy,
It's a meme coin, but they're speaking our language. The SPX 6900 symbolizes the complexity and vastness of today's interconnected financial systems. It forces us to question that what qualifies as market leading in an era of exponential growth and memification. This movement is more than numbers, it's a redefinition of dominance, relevance, and inclusion in global markets. You can read more. There's tons. Look, they've got, look at them, Jerome Printwell just going out of control money printer, right? They're depicting the corruption. There's a manifesto. You were born into a world where buying the house means taking on a mortgage in the hundreds of thousands. They're painting that picture. This is just a community, folks. There is nothing backing this coin other than the fanatical belief that we, the people, have power to govern the economy. That's it. And all of the language is aligned with that. So this community here, in 2020, the Federal Reserve significantly increased the money supply in response to economic crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Estimates suggest that around $3 trillion was created through a combination of asset purchases, quantitative easing, and emergency lending programs. These guys are on top of things. So this type of community is what's backing the coin. It's simply attention. People are paying attention to it, and it has value. That there is again, they're just gamifying community building. There are people in this community who every single day post on X how much they purchased. There's one guy who said, I'm just going to dollar cost average. Every single week, I'm going to put in $100 and I'll tell you how things go. And he's down. He's down right now. But he still posts whenever he buys again. That community is fanatic. And
it looks like it's hitting a support point, eh?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, that consolidation, because we did bounce off of that, created this high, right? And then the highs are beginning lower, so now we're seeing that descending wedge pattern. Coming down to a wire here, coming into the first couple months of the year. That consolidation is squeezing. When this takes off, what's crazy, out of all the meme coins out there, this one here has the highest percentage of people with more than $1,000 US holding. And I can't remember what that percentage is, but out of all of the meme coins in circulation, this one has the highest percentage of people holding more than $1,000. So when meme coins take off, this will be where a lot of liquidity gravitates. Why? Because the community is vibrant.
And you say that's of all meme coins or all coins generally speaking?
This particular meme coin, I think, will outperform others, but
No,
it
but
will
what I
also
mean
set a
is,
standard.
what I mean is, my question has to do with the highest percentage of investors holding more than $1,000 worth of
Mm.
coin. Is that of just meme coins or of all coins?
Just meme coins. Yep. Within the meme coin ecosystem, this one has the highest percentage of people holding more than 1,000. Thanks for that. Thanks for asking that clarifying question. NPC is another example. This community here, they actually, again, goes back to the gaming theory, right? In the Matrix, they depict NPCs very, very well, where Neo and Morpheus are walking through the street, and there's people bustling about, going about their business. There's the woman in the red dress, right? That scene, Morpheus says, you have to remember that a lot of these people who are in the Matrix, they're not ready to be unplugged. It would destroy them. It would literally collapse their brains if they were to be unplugged from the Matrix. They run the program because that's what they do. That's their role within the program, is just to maintain it by repeating it, right? Well, like in 2020, when we were saying, oh no, masks don't do anything, it was the program that people were speaking. It wasn't the people speaking, it was the program speaking through them. You got to mask up, you're going to kill grandma. That idea comes from the correlation in the gaming world is NPCs. There stands for non-playable characters. When you're in a game and you're taking your avatar and you're going into town, so to speak, there are all kinds of other characters. I mean, it's a town. There are other characters. Some of the characters are playable characters, and that's by someone who has their device and they're playing the character. But then there are characters within the game that are non-playable. They just run the program.
Kind of
So
like
when you go and talk to them, they can only respond to your avatar in the way that they've been pre-programmed to respond. So this meme coin is dedicated by a community. So the people who hold this coin are fanatic about non-playable characters. And so you can go to, I don't know the site, but I'd have to go and bring it down. I should bring it down so you guys can see how this works. You can go onto their site and you can create an NFT. And what you do is that you randomize. Remember how we showed how we were talking about NFTs area before Christmas? The OpenSea had the crypto punks where they are going now for like the cheapest one is 83 or like I think the cheapest one is like $83,000 or something like that. You can. All of these memes have parameters to them, you know. One has black rimmed glasses. Another one has purple rimmed glasses. One has got a ball cap. One has got a cowboy hat. And that these different parameters get randomized across all these different NFTs, all across these different avatars. Well, in the NPC ecosystem, you can go and make your own NPC. You simply cannot select a combination of parameters on your avatar that someone else has already minted. So you just go and randomly go make your character and you can mint it. Now, they used to do it for free. Now you got to pay. But people who hold those memes, it's just a picture. Just a picture. The people who hold those memes are holding this NPC coin, non-playable character coin, and the entire ecosystem just makes fun of the fact that there are so many people out there who are non-playable. You can't talk to them. They just regurgitate the program.
So are you saying that the lady in the red dress is an NPC?
Yes,
Whereas Neo and Morpheus were playable.
that's right.
And she's the distraction.
Correct.
What are distractions?
She, the woman in the
lady
red
in
dress,
the red dress. Yeah.
is also the distraction.
Yep.
Yeah, because Neo looked, and then Morpheus says, Are you paying attention, or were you looking at the woman in the red dress? And he goes and looks again, saying, "Oh, I was just looking at," and then the agent has the gun. Well, the agent is just another program, but that program is designed by the machines to take on that NPC's form to amplify the program, right? You can't behave this way. And the machines can, of course, access any of those NPCs, no different than a video game, which, by the way, this is what's interesting about this. If you take a look at the video game industry and where they're headed, there is a game, it's called, what's it called? Baldur's Gate. Huge video game franchise. They've been around for decades making video games. I think they're on their third main franchise. They are now making NPC characters that are LLM run. So you can't play the character, but now your conversation with them can adapt to your input. So you go and talk to them. They still have a program. They're still going to maintain their program, but now it's appearing to be more of a custom environment, more of a holographic experience, because how you interact with that NPC will be different from how your friend interacts with that NPC.
It'll be
And so-
customized.
Correct.
It'll be what?
Customized.
Customized. Okay.
So they will direct us according to our habits within the game to the direction that they want us to go, which will be totally different. How they direct me will be different than how they direct you, Ian, or how they direct Paul, and we won't know the difference.
In fact, you will experience a different world than your neighbor simply because the algorithm can do that.
I'm just thinking that the tree that you talked about a few minutes ago, that tree might show up for me, but not for you.
That's right.
It comes back to the real life thing. You know, we tend to go out to the mountains every week, but are there mountains really there if we're not?
Yeah.
I mean, that whole thought of if the tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it?
Yeah. Game theory.
Game
Yeah.
theory.
Very interesting.
What I find another level of this is this whole generative, the generative environment, right? See, in game theory, it is believed that the body is the projector. So, what you see isn't reality. What you see is your body's interpretation of reality. So, your body is the projector, and what you're seeing is the reflection and your process of that information, which then extends into, as you walk through space-time, you are generating your own environment because it's only your definitions of the environment that you can see. You can't see things outside of your perception.
So, okay, that idea kind of falls apart when it comes to a group of people, all of whom see the same thing. You know,
Yes.
if I look at my hand, okay, I'm seeing something, and I get each of you to look at it. We all describe the same thing. That means pretty much we're looking at the same thing.
I think we have a collective definition on what a body or a something looks like. It is within the realm of our cognition, our nervous system, because our nervous systems are all very different and unique, that informs our personal reality.
Yeah. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah. Or as my friend Norman would say, okay, think about that for a while. Here's another way that I like to look at this. Immanuel Kant was one of the most, definitely one of the most respected philosophers of the last 300, 400 years. And he had the term, where is the, it's not showing me GIMP here. Hang on. Come on, chalkboard. There we go. He had a term they called noumena, and it comes from the Greek word noumena, which means that which is observed. Let's go back over here. We ready here? Noumena. You put out your hand, Ian. That is something that is being observed. That is a thing. And objective reality indicates that that is what's being observed. But what he went on to say was that we as humans don't experience that which is observed. We experience the definition or the interpretation of what's observed. Because we have a physiological interface with the surrounding environment. We don't see what is, we see what we've been programmed to believe what is. So noumena is that which is observed. The phenomena is what we experience because it's our interpretation of what's observed. And this is really the fundamentals of game theory. If I'm in a video game and I got my avatar and I look off into the distance at the horizon, my avatar can see the tree. It's observed. Of course, my avatar only sees it as a tree because that's the program that the avatar is accepting. That's the data. It's the interpretation of the data. So what is real, right? Is that with the tree that's falling in the forest when no one's around, does it make a sound? If it's not observed, if there is no observer, does it occur?
I think the English word.
Go ahead.
The English word is noumena, N-O-U. I'm looking it up right now on Grok.
Thank you. You're right.
There is a noumena, but it is a name, normally
right
in Madagascar. No,
yes,
no connection to Greek, but noumena does.
Oh, okay.
Noumena comes from the Greek word noumenon. We get the word phenomenon from that, even though there is no U in phenomenon. So yeah.
Thank you. That's good clarification, and I do recall that NOU. Tom Campbell talks about it in this way. This is data, and on this side is information. Two very different experiences.
How would you define the distinction?
What is versus what's perceived or experienced.
Okay. Sure, that's what it says here. In English, it is better known as noumena, a key term in Immanuel Kant's philosophy. The things in themselves, quote unquote, as they exist independently of our perception, contrasted with phenomena, things as they appear to us.
Yes.
Okay,
And
interesting.
with phenomena, what I comprehend is that's where I add in my filters, my life experience, my projections on the data.
Yes.
So it's like having 10 different people witness an accident. You have 10 different stories.
Yep. The data is the accident.
Of course. It's funny. Somebody said, well, if you videotaped it, you get. But I've heard police officers say, well, video doesn't tell everything.
Right. There's so much outside of the frame of a video. Yeah, it's a fascinating study. Fascinating study. I tend to lean towards this theory that that's how it is. I think that, but that's also because I recognize that, like, look at how the cat experiences the vertical versus the horizontal lines, right? If it's only introduced to certain input, then reality outside of that input will not be perceived. It will not be experienced. And we do the same thing.
Or it will be experienced as something fearful outside of its capacity to interpret.
Yep. Yep. Another analogy that's talked about is, you got this beach, and you've got all kinds of people here. These are, we're going to go back now to like primitive days, where you have all these tribes people, and there's the water, right? And way off in the distance is a ship. They've never even seen a ship before. They don't even know what a ship is because they've never gone beyond the water. So there's a ship way off in the ocean, and none of these people can see it. This actually occurred, and it was the shamans of the day that could detect an alteration or a change in how the waves came onto shore. And the shaman sat for days looking at the patterns of the waves, trying to figure out what would cause this anomaly. And through meditation and time, he then perceived the craft that had made the alterations on the water. And it wasn't far. But nobody could see the ship. Then the shaman said, there's something out there. There's a craft. And then he would use their language. And then all of a sudden they could see it because there was language put to it. And this occurred. This occurred in the 1300s, where there were tribes that didn't venture into water. They could not see the ships that were coming to settle, the explorers. They could not see the ships. Their shaman had to tell them it's there and give it language for them to be able to see it. So again, in the video game theory, this computes. It was there, it was observable, but they didn't have a language to interpret the data. So the ship was data, but their experience they couldn't experience it. It was a vertical line in a horizontal world. Fascinating. And again, we're seeing this unfold in gaming theory. And I think the Matrix was a major component for people to be able to put language to game theory. I think it was an important part. The Wachowski brothers, they knew exactly what they were doing when they created that movie.
The Matrix was such a watershed moment
Hmm.
in the world of not just cinematography, but visualization of
Yes.
concepts for a lot of people. Um, Crazy.
Hmm.
And
That's
then
why.
the next step up from that was the Avatar, the movie.
Agreed. Yep.
And then because then people could see themselves playing something other than their own life. And, I think it's tragic though when people see themselves living in AI. Their
Hmm.
best friend is AI.
Yeah.
I think it's beyond tragic, but it's indicative of a mindset that
Disconnection.
sure it's connection, but it's a false connection.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's a imagined connection. It's a whatever you want to call it.
Well,
Um,
COVID was really that pinnacle that has brought us to this point of disconnecting from one another. Because I mean the 6 foot spacing, the online communications.
what I call the interruption.
Yeah.
The
Mm.
what's that thing that they use in Star Trek speak about something in the there's a phrase anyhow it's like an interruption in the not the galaxies but anyhow something to do with space but anyhow it was an interruption.
Oh, is it the space-time continuum?
Yeah, yep,
Yep.
that's correct. So
Yep.
it was an interruption
Hmm.
in that sense, and so um, the reset has occurred to some extent in people's minds.
Hmm.
Okay, they were interrupted. They were shifted from one rail to another rail,
Yep.
and they're now living on that rail.
The way that what you've just described, Ian, is precisely how I have, in my own mind, made sense of the idea of two people in the field and one disappears.
Okay, sure. Yeah, well, I'm sure that when that does happen, that it's going to there's going to be a lot of people that are going to think of game theory or
Yeah.
oh something happened in the space time continuum, and
Yeah.
she's just no longer here.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There are tons of fascinating theories about that because they've found the same thing occurs at the atomic level as well, where electrons will actually vibrate out of existence, that for a period of time in their frequency, they aren't here. And
For a
during which
period of
time
time or from a period of time, they're no
uh,
longer here.
they for a period of time not here, and that the frequency that we measure, the frequencies of energy that they measure, oscillate like a sine wave, and that on the oscillation of down where the energy signature is weaker, where that vibration is low, that it's not here, and that it reappears when the energy levels come back up, and that they've observed this. They have objective observation of this occurring. And there's one quantum physicist that said, he envisions it being like where it goes into an alternate reality altogether, where it is somewhere else, that it disappears and appears there, but that there it's on the up, and that we say, where did it go? And on that side, there's another physicist looking at it and being like, where did that come from? And then it disappears and it shows back up where we were and like, oh, there it is again.
I suppose there are people, well, philosophers or whatever, who could who would attempt to explain biblical events
Hmm.
from that perspective.
Yep. Yep. And I'm of the mind that to rule out possibilities is to close one's mind. I'm not going to I'm not a, I'm now more at the point in my life where I want to shed anything that I believe, because I really think that, how is it worded there in that one, like even in the term God is something, how did that go? God is a label that we've given something that we can't possibly associate with being. Like it's outside of our physical experience, and yet we go ahead and create a word to try to encapsulate what that is. And in similarly, I think that we are mere babes in trying to describe what it is that we're observing with our senses.
Yep. I was telling a friend this morning, I said, for me to try to comprehend the passion with which God loves me and feels about me would burn me up, would
Mm.
consume me. If he dropped even a fraction of that energy into my spirit, it would be too much for me to.
I could be wrong. I think that it would give you life.
Oh, it would. Well, it would. It would. You know what they say about Enoch, and Enoch was not, for
Right.
God took him.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I think that would be. It would definitely give me life, but it would transport me into a realm that that energy can only exist in.
Another beautiful example of a rapture.
It is
Yeah.
exactly what I was enraptured into. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, the story that I go back to was when I was at that faux restaurant picking up food that I ordered. This was in uh, that would have been late 2023, mid 2023 probably. Yeah, somewhere in there. Anyway, went to the location to go and pick up the order that I had placed just 15 minutes before and was waiting a while. They were busy, which I was grateful for. It's a great faux restaurant. And all around me were people, but nobody could see me. I felt like nobody could see me. And it didn't occur to me that that was the situation I was in until there was a commotion at the front counter. So I went to the front counter and I inquired about my order. Oh, it's going to be a little bit while longer. No problem. I saw people waiting and there was tons of people sitting. So no problem. I just sat off to the side. There was a little chair, not at a table, just at a chair, kind of a waiting area. So I just sat. And there was a commotion where a gentleman came into the store and expected his food to be ready. And he was angry that it wasn't. And it became a commotion. And there was a woman who was standing next to him who told him to chill, calm down, and just wait. Like, can't you see they're busy? And we were here before you and we're waiting, so just relax. Well, the entire exchange, because it was escalating, people were looking at around, because that's what people do. People look at each other for confirmation of to how they should respond to situations. And so they were looking around, but nobody looked at me. And I wasn't, I was off to the side, but I was close enough to the counter that I was a part of the scene. And when I got up, it probably only took about another 30 seconds, and my order was ready. And the store owner could see me. And I got up, and the woman who was standing there, she didn't get out of my way. She stood there, and as if I was invisible. And it was kind of awkward. She was kind enough to tell the irate gentleman to calm down. She was clearly not unaware of her surroundings, and yet it felt like I had to push her to get to the counter because she didn't move. So I just reached a little bit further is what I did, and I grabbed it and I went out. But the whole time I'm looking around, nobody nobody showed any sign of having perceived my presence except for the owner. It was a very surreal feeling.
Reticular activator.
Yeah. Yeah.
The owner,
While
the owner saw
while
everybody,
yeah,
but everybody else was in their own little world, concerned only about themselves,
yeah.
except Paul, who was observant and
Yeah,
watching
and
everybody.
yeah, I was just watching it all unfold and comically. To me it was just a comic to watch. I mean, it wasn't pleasant. The man was using vulgar language and getting like very very loud, and I would have expected him, based on how he was presenting himself, I would have expected him to start banging the counter or something like that. So it would have drawn attention, and people did pay attention to that, and they paid attention to the woman who calmed him down, and they all paid attention to each other. But it was like I was not there except to the business owner. You're right. The reticular activating system made it where I was unobservable. My state, whatever state that was something outside of their ability to interpret. Feels
Lots of fun.
Yeah.
I got to run.
Yep, you betcha. Me too.
Blessing to
Have
you
a good
both.
rest of the day, everybody.
Yeah, you too.
We'll see ya.
I'll be here tomorrow.